A loop causes the program to repeatedly execute a series of statements until a given condition is false. C++ provides three types of loop: while, do while, and for loops. C++ 11 added support for a new kind of loop called a for each loop. The while statement is the simplest of the for loops that C++ provides, and it has a definition very similar to that of an if statement. While, expression. Statement. A while statement is declared using the while keyword. When a while statement is executed, the expression is evaluated. If the expression evaluates to true, non-zero, the statement executes. Let's take a closer look at what this program is doing. First, count is initialized to 0. 0. The first statement prints 0, and the second increments count to 1. Control then returns back to the top of the while statement. 1. The code block will repeatedly execute until count is 10, at which point 10. It is possible that a while statement executes 0 times. Consider the following program, the condition 15. The only thing this program prints is done. On the other hand, if the expression always evaluates to true, the while loop will execute forever. This is called an infinite loop. Here is an example of an infinite loop. Because count is never incremented in this program, count. Consequently, the loop will never terminate, and the program will print 00000 forever. Often, we want a loop to execute a certain number of times. To do this, it is common to use a loop variable, often called a counter. A loop variable is an integer variable that is declared for the sole purpose of counting how many times a loop has executed. In the examples above, the variable count is a loop variable. Each time a loop executes, it is called an iteration. Because the loop body is typically a block, and because that block is entered and exited with each iteration. Any variables declared inside the loop body are created and then destroyed with each iteration. One interesting thing about the while loop is that if the loop condition is initially false, the while loop will not execute at all. It is sometimes the case that we know we want a loop to execute at least once, such as when displaying a menu. To help facilitate this, C++ offers the do while loop. Do statement. While condition. The statement in a do while loop always executes at least once. After the statement has been executed, the do-while loop checks the condition. If the condition is true, the path of execution jumps back to the top of the do-while loop and executes it again. By far, the most utilized looping statement in C++ is the for statement. The for statement, also called a for loop, is ideal when we know exactly how many times we need to iterate, because it lets us easily define, initialize, and change the value of loop variables after each iteration. The for statement looks pretty simple in abstract. For, init statement, condition expression, end expression. Statement 1, the init statement is evaluated. Typically, the init statement consists of variable definitions and initialization. This statement is only evaluated once, when the loop is first executed. 2. The condition expression is evaluated. If this evaluates to false, the loop terminates immediately. If this evaluates to true, the statement is executed. 3. After the statement is executed, the end expression is evaluated. Typically, this expression is used to increment or decrement the variables declared in the init statement. After the end expression has been evaluated, the loop returns to step 2. Let's take a look at a sample for loop and discuss how it works. For, int count equals 0, count. Could count. Consequently, this program prints the result 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. First, we declare a loop variable named count, and assign it the value 0. Second, count. Consequently, the statement executes, which prints 0. Third, ++ count is evaluated, which increments count to 1. Then the loop goes back to the second step. Now, 1. The statement prints 1, and count is incremented to 2. 2. And so on. One of the biggest problems that new programmers have with for loops, and other kinds of loops, is off by 1 errors. Off by 1 errors occur when the loop iterates 1 too many or 1 too few times. This generally happens because the wrong relational operator is used in the conditional expression, e.g., instead of equals. These errors can be hard to track down because the compiler will not complain about them. The program will run fine, but it will produce the wrong result. When writing for loops, remember that the loop will execute as long as the conditional expression is true. It is possible to write for loops that omit any or all of the expressions. For example, in the following example, we'll omit the init statement and end expression. Int count equals 0. For, count. Could count. ++ count. This for loop produces the result 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Although for loops typically iterate over only one variable, sometimes for loops need to work with multiple variables. When this happens, the programmer can make use of the comma operator in order to assign, in the init statement, or change, in the end statement, the value of multiple variables. Int 3, jjj. 4, 3 equals 0, jjj equals 9, 3. Could. This loop assigns values to two previously declared variables, 3 to 0, and jjj to 9. It iterates 3 over the range 0 to 9, and each iteration 3 is incremented and jjj is decremented. Although you have already seen the break statement in the context of switch statements, it deserves a fuller treatment since it can be used with other types of loops as well. The break statement causes a do, for, switch, or while statement to terminate. In the context of a loop, a break statement can be used to cause the loop to terminate early. For, int count equals 0, count. Std could enter a number to add, or 0 to exit. Int number. Stdcin number. Exit loop if user enters 0. If, number equals 0. Break. Otherwise add number to our sum. Sum plus equals number. This program allows the user to type up to 10 numbers, and displays the sum of all the numbers entered at the end. If the user enters 0, the break causes the loop to terminate early, before 10 numbers have been entered. New programmers often have trouble understanding the difference between break and return. A break statement terminates the switch or loop, and execution continues at the first statement beyond the switch or loop. A return statement terminates the entire function that the loop is within, and execution continues at point where the function was called. The continue statement provides a convenient way to jump to the end of the loop body for the current iteration. This is useful when we want to terminate the current iteration early. For, int count equals 0, count. / if the number is divisible by 4, skip this iteration. If, count %4, equals 0. Continue, jump to end of loop body. If the number is not divisible by 4, keep going. Std could count std and l. The continue statement jumps to here. Be careful when using a continue statement with while or do while loops. Because these loops typically increment the loop variables in the body of the loop, using continue can cause the loop to become infinite.